This is Corey Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
Hi, I'm Clint Cannon from ATS.
This is Dan, owner of ATS Diesel Performance.
I'm Cass from Diesel Doctor of Tennessee, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're really excited to have you guys with us today. And one of our most popular requests that we get every week is about restoring older trucks. And whether it's a First Gen Cummins, an OBS Ford, or even swaps into like say a C10 or like a 78 F250 or different things like that. And you guys are really passionate about taking the simplicity of older vehicles and combining it with diesel power. And we're so grateful this guy reached out to us because he's got a really cool build. It's a First Gen Cummins, and he had one in high school. And he sold it, and he always regretted that decision. And so he's going to tell us about how he got back into one, how he found the truck, and then what he went through with body, paint, the interior, the motor, what his goals are for the truck, and where he takes it, what he does, how he's met other people that want to do the same thing. And he's going to give us some tips for you guys out there that are looking to do the same thing, whether it's restoring one or doing a swap on an older truck or something like that. So we know you guys are going to love this episode. Before we get into it, though, we want to ask you for a huge favor. We are working on booking the most popular guest that has ever been on an automotive podcast, at least. And one of the things they look for are iTunes reviews. And right now, we are the top rated and highest rated, most rated diesel truck podcast that's out there in the world. But we need your help to get more. So we'd like to ask you guys to go on iTunes, go to the Diesel Podcast and give us a review. And you can just rate us, or if you want to leave a comment, let us know who you want to hear from, if there's topics that you are really interested in, or if you know a really cool build out there, something that the diesel community needs to hear, just leave it in the comments. We do check them all the time, and we'll make sure to reach out to those people and have them on the podcast or get a company on to talk about a product or anything like that. So we want to ask you for that huge favor. And then we also want to thank two of our sponsors who help make the Diesel Podcast possible and episodes like this. The first is BD Diesel. BD Diesel is the official injector of the Diesel Podcast. So if you're looking for stock replacement or performance injectors for Cummins, Duramax, Powerstroke, any year range, they've got them. Go to dieselperformance.com. You can search by your year and make, and you'll be able to find them there. Select any options that you have. If you have questions, you can call BD. You can chat on the website. You can email them. They're more than happy to help you. And also PPEI. PPEI is the leader in custom tuning for Cummins, Duramax, or Powerstroke. They've always been that way, but they're taking a lot of new technologies, new testing methods to be able to bring you all the experience they've learned tuning trucks and bring it to basically anything that's new, whether it's a 5-liter Cummins, a 3-liter Powerstroke, 6.7 Cummins, 6.7 Powerstroke, the L5P, LMLs, they've got it all. Go to ppei.com. You can search all the different tuning options they have, or you can call, message, chat on their website. They're more than happy to help you guys. So we encourage you to check out our sponsors and support those who support the podcast. All right, guys, let's get to the podcast talking about this First Gen restoration. Jason, welcome to the Diesel Podcast. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I was really excited when you reached out to us. I'm a big Cummins fan anyway, but especially the First Gens. And you've got a really cool story I know our listeners are going to love hearing about. And I just wanted you to tell us a little bit about the truck and how you came to own it and your plans and the process of building it.
All righty. I drove a First Gen in high school that was pretty much like the truck I've got now. And I sold it just like anybody else does when they get a little bit older and a little bit dumber. So I sold it because I wanted a four-wheel drive truck. And ever since I sold it, I've regretted it. So I told my dad, I said, I'd really like to find another First Gen just like the truck that I had in high school. He calls me one day and he says, hey, I think I found the truck on a little lot. So we went and looked at it. And as soon as I rode in it, I knew that was a truck that I wanted. Because I wanted to do another restore. It's just kind of like people say in high school, if you have the old Camaro or Chevelle, I wish I had it back. And that was kind of my story. So we got the truck and I drove it for, 5 years. And I woke up one day and told my wife, I said, I want to sell my truck that I had. It was 2012, which was about paid off. So we sold it and took that money and invested into this First Gen. and then we went from there.
What year First Gen is it?
It's a 90 model, non-intercooled.
Nice. Does it have the manual or the auto?
No, it's got the 727 or 737 transmission.
Okay. And then, now the truck itself, did you have to do like a complete restoration of it, or?
No, actually, the when I drove it, I knew the truck was pretty tight. The body panels was good. It was not a northern truck or spinning salt, so I knew it had good bones under it. So when we decided to do that, what really got it started was my heater coil went out, and when I was taking the dash out, I dropped a little bit of antifreeze inside the cab on the carpet. So I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna have to replace that carpet. So that really got the ball rolling. So we replaced the carpet, and then I got on social media on Facebook, and a guy in Kentucky had painted his motor, the valve covers and the air horn, and done some other stuff. And I thought, I wonder what my truck would look like that. So I done the same thing. And then the more I got into it, the more I was like, I want to build this thing, as far as stripping it down and painting it and doing all the suspension work and that kind of stuff.
And with the body, did you go with the factory colors, or did you change it up a little bit?
I changed it up a little bit. I kept the Colorado red because I really liked the red. But the silver that it had in it was not very pretty to me, so I went with the PS2, which is a late model Chrysler color. And we changed the paint lines. It had really wide gray strips down the side, so we narrowed that in a little bit to kind of give a little better look. So the paint lines are along the body lines.
Okay.
When we done the paint, I was really adamant about not using pinstripes to cover up the two colors coming together. So when it went into the paint booth, I probably spent an hour walking around it just rubbing the paint tape just to make sure that it didn't bleed through. So as I was painting the truck and it come out and we pulled the tape off, I was pretty excited to know that I did not have to use pinstripes. So that was nice. That was really, really nice.
Now, for the rest, like the interior, did you have to replace a lot, or was it pretty good shape?
The interior was in decent shape, but we pulled, since I had the dash out, and I just pulled all the trim out as well, and went ahead and sanded it down and repainted it back to a factory color of a gray. I had new carpet in it. The headliner was in bad shape, so we replaced the headliner, put a new headliner in it. As far as the seats come out of a second gen.
Okay.
We had another truck at work that was a wreck, and the seats were, the frame and all was good, but the covers wasn't from where it was hit. So I took the seats and took them down to metal and sanded them, primered them, painted them back, and I found a interior shop right here close to home, and so happened the guy had a 90 model second gen that when he bought it new, I'm sorry, a 99 second gen, he brought the truck home and did not want cloth interior. So he took the cloth interior, and put it in his attic in storage and put vinyl. So when I come to this guy to try to get him wrapped, he says, so happen I have a set of covers that has got maybe 200 miles on them. And he made me a deal in it, and so the seats are really, really good shape.
If, like, for finding any parts that you needed as far as, like, the interior or even exterior, were those hard to find, or are there a lot of good places where you can locate?
There's several places on Facebook that I used that was First Gen pages. So I put my ad out there, looking for parts, and kept looking for parts when somebody would post it if I needed them, and I would buy them. So I had a few crack interior pieces, so I bought somebody that had a wreck truck, and they were selling all the interior pieces, so I bought all of them. Some of them were red, some of them was a kind of a brown color, and we repainted them, the pieces that we needed. And the rest I just put in storage. Probably the hardest part that I've had to find is an outer shell for the grill. 90 to 91, they switch grills. So there's an aluminum piece that goes all the way around the front of the truck, and I've had the worst time finding that part that was in good shape.
I imagine that's probably pretty tough to find.
It is. It is. I can find the 91s through 93s. I could probably find them all day. Some of them, they may have the Dodge emblem on them. Some of them may not. But that's not the truck that I want. I want it to look like the factory grill.
I think that paying attention to that kind of detail and keeping it, as close to original as you could is like what you were talking about with, like when we were kids, our dads and uncles and everyone was talking about the Camaros and Chevelles and Mustangs and Chargers and all that sort of stuff. And it's just that original feel to it that is so cool. And then changing it up a little bit, making it, personal to the colors you like or the seats and, different things like that makes it really unique.
I've had a lot of people ask me, why don't you put a newer turbo on there, a bigger turbo with the intercooler? Because the truck didn't have intercooler, I didn't want to change it. I wanted to leave it as close to original without taking a characteristic away from it.
When you had the body, I'll say excluding the body and, with the frame and the just everything that's underneath it, did you guys go through that as well and paint the frame?
Like I said, I had a good truck to begin with. The paint on it was real bad, and I had a few dings here and there. I mean, the truck's almost 30 years old, so it had a few places here and there that we fixed. But as far as finding any rot or rust, we was lucky. When we took the bed off, we taped up the cab and went ahead and painted the frame while we had it off. We didn't have to pull the cab, which was a great thing. The engine, we just dressed up the parts that we had without having to pull the motor. So some people, when they start a truck like that, they're pretty rough shape. I got lucky. Being a Southern truck, I got real lucky.
It is, yeah. And it's like when you think of the first gens and even the second gens, well, especially the 12 valve is, you think of the reliability, you think of the fuel economy, and just how long they'll last. And I think it's part of the allure of it, of the older trucks, is there's so much you don't have to worry about. There's no EGR, DPF, SCR, all the electronics, all the different things, and it's kind of like the holy grail of owning a diesel or those early ones.
Well, my dad always told me growing up that if it's simple, then you won't have a lot of trouble with it. It's just when you start getting, no matter if it's mechanical or whatever, if it starts getting complex, then you'll have trouble out of it. And that was what made me really like the 12 valves. They're simple. I mean, there's got a lot of room under the hood. They're not that hard to work on, really.
Did as far as like the pump and exhaust and stuff, are those all stock, or do you maybe play around with those a little bit?
Well, while I was doing it, I had a friend that has worked on pumps for years at a local shop. I had him to pull the pump and go ahead and go through it and reseal it, since I didn't want it to leak diesel, on the ground. So he resealed it and put it back on, and he's turned the fuel up just a little bit. I didn't want to go plumb crazy. We turned the fuel a little bit and bumped the timing up just a hair. We put a Danny T fuel pin in it, and a 3200 governor spring. And that was about all we done with the pump.
Nice. So it's about as factory as they came.
It is. We changed the turbo housing. We put a B&D 16 centimeter turbo housing on the back side of the turbo, and a 4-inch diamond eye exhaust, and then we put 100 horsepower injectors in it. That's probably why we didn't turn the pump up too hot. I just didn't want to get pumped crazy.
What kind of fuel economy does it get?
Before, I don't drive it a whole lot now, just because I like to take it to truck shows, and I've just kind of put it back for my kids so that when they get older, it gets somewhere around the 20 miles or better on the fuel economy.
Nice.
So I've got a newer truck, and it don't get 20 miles to the gallon. I wish it did. I wish it did. I put it back because I want my kids to be able to enjoy it, when they get a little bit older.
They're getting harder to find. You know,
They are.
It's just, it's so tough. Even the second gens are tough. I mean, they're out there, but just it takes some time and persistence, I think, to find a good truck to restore, or even just to drive.
Especially this truck has 110,000 miles on it, so for a first gen, that's relatively low.
It only has 110,000 miles on it.
Only 110,000. Yes, it sure does. It sure does. That's why it sits in the garage with the cover over it, and I get it out maybe once a month or every other month and drive it just a little bit to kind of keep everything lubed and moving. But I want to try to hold it as long as I can, with the miles down.
That's cool.
So what kind of got me started on wanting to rebuild it too, one, I had it in high school, one just like it. And I went to a couple of truck shows around here that had, sled pulling and drag racing. And I would take a newer truck. They had 22-inch wheels and tires and bumpers and all that, and you would never really get a second look at it. So by doing the first gen, they wasn't a lot out there, and they were a little bit different. So I've had more success doing that, and I've been lucky. There's a lot of nice trucks out there, but not many first gens.
That's so true. If I think of going to a truck event, and the new ones are great, or the newer ones they have so many features to them which are nice, but you can look in the parking lot and you're going to see a lot of them with the same style of wheels, tires, lift, same type of stuff on it. But when you see a 25, 30-year-old truck that is clean and just, you could tell it's well taken care of, and the owner takes pride in it, you stop and you look and you can just appreciate the time and the effort that goes into keeping it looking like that.
You're right. I mean, with the newer trucks, you would get a lot of the younger guys would come up and want to talk about it, because that's kind of what they're interested in. With the older generation would always gravitate towards the older vehicles because they related more to those type trucks. So by doing an older truck, I've learned that a lot of the younger kids who are getting into the diesel world have a lot of respect for the older trucks as well, and so does the older generation. So it's kind of a good mix of both.
I think we really see that with the Dodge Cummins and then also the OBS Ford. It seems like the OBS Fords are starting to get that kind of nostalgic. People are restoring them or doing things to them, and it's something I think you hit the nail on the head, where the older generation and the younger generation can both appreciate it.
You're right. I mean, with the newer trucks, when you go to the showroom or whatever, you drive by a Dodge dealership or a Ford or Chevrolet dealership, and it's the same truck, kind of with, big wheels and tires on it. But it's a whole different appreciation, and not saying it's because it's my truck, just when I see an OB Ford truck or older Chevrolet truck that's been done like that, they took a lot of time and effort into that truck. People walk around my truck and they give you good compliments, but I can walk around it and I can tell you where every imperfection is on the truck, just because of the time I spent waxing it, rubbing, wiping the water off of it when you wash it and washing it a lot and cleaning it. And so you kind of know every square inch of that truck.
Yeah, that's one of the trucks that I would love to basically do exactly what you've done. It is just restore it and keep it, pretty mild with the power. Keep it, maybe not 100% stock, but close to it, and just enjoy it.
I've enjoyed it a lot. What really got me into the first gen trucks is my older brother. He rodeoed a lot when I was younger. And this is in the early 90s, and he had a first-gen Dodge. It was a single-cab dually, red and white. I'll never forget it. And ever since I seen that truck, I was like, I really like those trucks. They're the first ones that had a turbo on them, and, they were really stout for the time. And then he traded and got another one. So by the time I got to the age where I could buy a truck, my dad had said, what kind of truck would you like? And they were all driving, and they were the Powerstroke when they first come out. And I said, I really like them first gens. And so we found a truck, and I really fell in love from there.
It's interesting. My brother has a newer one, and he's got a Common Rail 5.9, and he's on a kick now to find a first gen, and he's been looking for a while. I've tried to help him, and he's like, no, I want a regular cab. You know, he wants to do what you're doing, or what you did, and just do that, and it's really cool. I know on social media there's a lot of pages that focus on the first gens, and those are the ones that grab my attention, and it's kind of that's what started it all. You know, that's the why Diesel Performance is where it is now, is those trucks kind of took over the market and have that nostalgic feeling to it. And you had mentioned before that the truck's been in magazines.
Yes, it has. I went to a couple of shows here in East Tennessee, one in Sweetwater, Tennessee, which is a Smoking Up the Valley. It's a charity event that they do every year for Children's Hospital. And that was the first time I ever took it somewhere, and I was blessed, to win that show. And then we went to a show in Greenville, Tennessee, and we won it and got to know Chris Tomlin with Diesel World and Ultimate Diesel Builder Guide.
Okay.
So we kind of built a relationship. He's really good at what he does, and he asked me one day about doing a photo shoot. And all the hard work that you done with the truck and taking the shows was great, winning awards, but getting in a magazine, I mean, honestly, it was a humbling experience, by all means. So Chris took the pictures and done an article, and it's been a highlight of my life, I can say, besides my kids and my wife.
That's what's so special about trucks, regardless of the brand, is really the story behind them and the meaning and how it can bring people together from different walks of life, or different, some people are into performance, some are into, the classic truck, the restoration, some guys use it for work, all those different things. It's so cool with not just trucks, I guess the whole automotive aftermarket, in a sense, is how it brings people together, and there's a lot of pride in it, and you get to meet a lot of great people, whether it's, like you mentioned, going to shows or events or magazines or podcasts or social media. You get to meet so many cool people that share the same passion.
You're 100% correct. A good friend of mine, Michael Alstead, he goes with me to a lot of my shows that we go to, and I call them shows. They're mostly events, I haven't been to Rudy's or TS with it yet, which I'd like to, somewhere down the road. Went to Rocky Top with it, won it twice. Like I said, I feel lucky and feel blessed to have done that. But me and him has met a lot of cool, interesting, nice people. And whether they had a Chevrolet or a Ford, you respect what they have done, with their truck.
And that's one of the coolest things about doing a podcast, is being able to talk with all the enthusiasts. And like, I haven't been to Rocky Top Shootout, but I met Michael Dalton from RLC Motorsports like 7 or 8 years ago at Shide, and I just talked to him briefly, but I remember how passionate he was about trucks and diesel performance. And then we talk 5 or 6 or 7 years later, and it's like we didn't skip a beat, and we're still talking about trucks and what's going on.
That is so true. That is so true. And Michael has really done a really good job with that Rocky Top. That event seems like it grows every year.
Yeah.
And I keep up with him. He's on quite a few magazines himself. I think he was on Diesel World a couple months back on the front page.
I really like that Ford he did.
I'm not a Ford guy, but I give all respect for that truck. It's really nice. Both of them, the dually and the single wheel truck.
Yeah. There's something about regular cabs that always kind of hits me in the feels. So yeah, I really like that regular cab he did.
I agree. So yes, Michael's done a really good job with Rocky Top. And I've gotten to meet Ryan Milliken and Von Miller, and some of those guys that have showed up at the show. the guys from Anarchy, which they're local here, but they race there as well. They race at Rudy's. Just get to meet a lot of those guys and build a relationship is pretty neat.
It is, and like how accessible they are and how willing they are to talk about the truck or the race, or if you got questions for them, they'll all talk to you.
Oh, they're just common people like me and you are. I mean, they're enthusiasts. And if you have a question, I've not met anybody that has not been willing to talk to you and explain why they're doing this or that. And then watching the guys in the pits work with each other, they may not be on the same team, but if somebody needs a part, they'll try to help each other out so they can race or sled pull.
I just thought of a question for you. You think you'd ever get a first gen and build it into a race truck? Kind of have the best of both worlds, have the nice, clean, restored truck, and then maybe something to take out there and race?
I would love to, but I just don't know if my wife would allow that. That might be hard on our marriage. Because I spent quite a bit on this truck, But yeah, it's funny that you say that. I was heading to Knoxville. I guess it's been about a month ago, to the airport to do some work, and I passed a truck, a first gen, that had a flatbed on it. And more I got to looking at it, I'm 95% sure it was my first truck. So I kind of watched it and seen where it pulled off at, and so hopefully I can get time around to talk to that guy. I'd really like to buy that truck back and have that truck fix it up to where I could pull my first gen to truck event or whatever, and show both of them on.
That would be cool.
It would be. It would definitely be pretty cool.
Well, it was really. I'm glad you reached out to us. Like said, when I see a first gen truck and I can tell by the pictures, and we'll post some up when we put your episode out on Instagram and Facebook with pictures and stuff. But it's a beautiful truck, and then it's always the story behind it and the pride in it, and we're all, regardless of the brand, it's just, we love our trucks, and to see what you've done with it and just the process for it, it's going to inspire people. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just whether it's a truck we always wanted, whether it was the first truck we ever had, you can restore it or make it what you want, and it might take some time, but that's what adds a sentimental value to it that I think some of the newer ones we may not have, but definitely do with the older trucks.
Yes, I agree with you. There's definitely a big following, whether it's a Ford or Chevrolet or Dodge, or the square bodies of people, just whether they switch motors or they go in and kind of modernize it just a little bit, but kind of keep the characteristics of the old body style. So I've seen that trend, really on the rise here lately.
Well, if you ever buy back that original truck and you restore it, let us know, and we'll ask you how that process went and show a side by side of the two first gens.
That would be pretty awesome to do. It'd be pretty awesome. We just built a new house, so it may have to wait a year or two. I just may have to stalk it for a little bit till I can afford it.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate your time today and sharing your story. And
anytime.
Yeah, like I said, keep us updated. Let us know if you end up tracking down that truck, and we can follow the build kind of step by step and what you're doing to it, and hopefully see it at an event if we make it out that way.
That'd be great. Come down if you're in the area. Just hit me up, and we'll get together and show you the truck or whatever.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Yeah, thanks again, and like I said, we appreciate you reaching out to us.
Anytime.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and head on over to iTunes and give us a review. Help us book this guest we've been working on for a while. The more reviews that we can add to iTunes, the easier it is for us to book the people you want to hear from. So we want to ask you for that, and then also thank you if you've already done it. Also visit BD Diesel Performance at dieselperformance.com and PPEI at PPEI.com if you're looking for custom tuning, hard parts, injectors, turbos, transmissions, tons of different things. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.